It seems rather good.
Obamacare, that's everybody calls that. It's because President Obama, that was his goal to have universal health care basically in the United States by the time he left his term in office, and he achieved it.
I think it's not a good idea to set dates and I want to have it completed by a certain date. It depends upon the conditions, and I think one has to do whatever you can during this term and leave the rest for the others. I'm not very much in favor of timetables in this respect.
Well, yeah, because now they've got certain timetables now.
Yeah.
October 1, they opened up the website so you can start signing up for the healthcare, which is supposed to start on January 1st, but they're having a lot of problems with the websites, and people are having trouble signing in because there are so many people trying to get on the websites and try to get information. And I think the biggest problem was that Obama and his people were not very good at assimilating the information to the U.S. public, because if you spoke to most people before a couple of days ago and they were being told October 1, you could start signing up for Obamacare, most people didn't know, and I would say it's still the same. Majority of people still don't even know what Obamacare is, what it really means.
Yeah, nor do I.
He just did not explain it very well, and they should have had infomercials on TV like they do with other things. Go on to the public and spend a half an hour a week explaining what the benefits are, what's going to happen with it, and what it's going to do. I'm an employer, and nobody's ever told me what I have to do for my employees. It's just whatever you hear. Everything's second hand. There is nothing really being told.
I think it's on the whole, in a country like the U.S., perhaps it might be, and it's my initial impression, leave the question of medical care to the decision of the individual states.
Well, that's a lot of people feel that way, and I believe that's...
And perhaps if it is tried in one state and succeeds, it can be adopted by other states as well. Perhaps that's the best solution.
Who knows? I think that's what the Republicans would like to see. Yeah. Is let the states take it over, and give. They would like to see the federal government give up a lot of the things that they do, and give up a lot of their powers to the states. Yeah. After all, we are the United States, and the states should have some control over the populace in their particular state, and they would know more than anybody.
Yeah, this has been the case, this debate about the authorities of the states versus the federal government. This has been an issue since the very beginning of the United States. And, I think that answers to various questions have varied with time.
Yeah.
And here, I think, for an observer from outside, it's really hard to judge.
Yeah, well, I look at New York State. We have a lot more social programs than in other states, but I think our needs are a lot different too. We're very large. We have, there's a lot more poverty in this area.
Which means that the solution which is good for New York is not good, say, for Ohio or Texas or any other state. And each one has to find its own solution according to its conditions. This is my initial impression.
I agree. I agree with you. I mean, national health care. National health care is fine,
Yeah.
but it may not be the solution.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I really don't know this. It's very hard to refer to this question while coming from outside.
Yeah,
In a way, you see, it is reminiscent, from my point of view, to a debate which has been tearing this country for decades, the question of abortion.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And hold on. I just want to remind the audience that they can call us at 516-665-1860, and you can go on the internet. We're on Spreaker.com, Spreker.com, and all they have to do is, once they're in, is put in my show, Trucking by Heaven, and it'll come up. They can also listen to it. Now, in case, but most people know that already because you are listening to us. But our site is Spreaker.com if you ever want to go on it when you want to listen. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now we'll go back to you, Nathan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. So what's your question?
Question is, from what I'm reading from you, if you were here, your suggestion would be, as it is an outsider also, to go with individual states.
Yeah.
And instead of the government spending the money on it, allot every state a certain amount of money to help them do it. Would that?
I think so. It would be the best, simply because of the size of the country.
Yeah, this way, maybe in Alabama they need to have other medical needs that we don't have here as much.
I'm not saying that the needs are different, but the possibilities are different. How much you spend on health, it depends pretty much on how much you have. So, and I'm not sufficient. I fear I'm not sufficiently familiar with the situation in individual states. Whether I know, for instance, in Massachusetts, and the situation is they have some kind of health care, unlike other states that do not.
Yeah, that health care is supposed to be very similar to what Obamacare is.
Yeah, which one?
In Massachusetts.
Yeah, okay, so which means that under the conditions there it's good. I cannot judge about other states.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that familiar with the program there, but
well, to put all the states together in such question perhaps seems a bit, it depends whether the federal government can do it.
Yeah.
And,
my feeling is the federal government can maybe even enforce certain low-level medical needs.
mm-hmm.
They'll say that everybody can go to hospitals and everybody can do this and that. But from there on, let each state decide how they want to.
Maybe that's the best solution, and it should depend upon
I mean, the idea to me is great. If everybody has insurance, then the healthy as well as the sick have insurance, and theoretically that will reduce the costs.
Mm-hmm.
And reduce the cost is good. And they want to make sure everybody has a minimum amount of insurance. So when they do go to the hospital or whatever, they're covered. and the burden is not put on the state again to cover them.
Yeah.
Because what happens now, you get insurance when you're sick, or if you don't have insurance, you go to the hospital, and the hospital has to take care of you by law, I believe, and then the state and the federal government pick up the cost anyway. So instead of having all this mishmash, just have the government control certain things, give the rest of the rights and to the states to do what they feel is right for their particular constituency, and it'll probably work a lot better. But I do feel that we have to do something. We are the only Western country, I believe, that does not have some kind of national medicine.
Yeah.
Even countries like small countries like Costa Rica and Central America, they provide medical insurance for everybody.
I think that the size of this country is what makes the difference.
Well, I don't know what it's like in Russia, who's also rather a large
Russia
country.
is a very different. Well, there was a system of free health care, free education. Their level was rather low, but professional level, was rather low. But since everything is broken apart, I'm not familiar with the details there either.
Yeah, well, during the communist days, it was different. Now, I don't want to call on the democratic rule because I really don't think it's democratic.
Yeah, but...
or maybe it is democratic, but it's the kind of democracy that suits a country like Russia.
Authoritarian regime. Yeah.
Well, people seem to like...
Well, I think what happens in Russia, I think for the time being, that's the best possible there.
It's good for Russia.
Because, first of all, the main difference between the Western countries and much of the rest of the world is that, and people here do not realize that democracy in the Western world involves a tacit assumption that the average citizen is law-abiding. Of course, there are fringes of crime, etc., like everywhere, but those are really fringes, and the authorities know how to take care of it. In Russia, things are different, partly due to communism and partly due to long historic legacy. Well, there's a lot of corruption there, in a way unimaginable and from our point of view, and since there's people are not aware of the need to be law-abiding as it is in the West. Whenever you lift the pressure of a dictatorship, you get an anarchy, as it was during the 90s of the previous century.
Well, you look at
and this is why this regime, even though it's not my cup of tea, it's probably the best possible.
And the people seem to support it.
Yeah, because they know what would have happened otherwise.
And they also, the standard of living has improved somewhat.
Yeah, that's true. And
so even, for them, they're living better than they used to before.
Yeah.
The big difference is now there is a very big separation now of rich and poor in that country.
That's true.
There are some very rich people in Russia right now.
Yeah.
Some of the richest people in the world now live in Russia.
Whenever you allow economic freedom, this is the result. But well, I think, as I can't quote it in the exact words of Winston Churchill, but he's the one who said that capitalism is an uneven partition of wealth, while while communism is an even